Okay, let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to take that big stack of sources you have, the articles, the notes, and really turn it into instant, high-grade knowledge.
Exactly.
If you're here with us, you are the learner. You're looking to gain that knowledge quickly, but also, thoroughly.
Right.
And today, we are diving deep into the language of real life, specifically C2 level real life.
Indeed. We're focusing today on linguistic proficiency at the very highest practical level. We've synthesized a lot of excerpts from sources that are all about elevating those daily interactions, the kind of things you do, every weekend.
The mundane stuff.
The mundane stuff. Running errands, coordinating logistics, the often underestimated complexity of these tasks.
Yes.
And we're going to deconstruct the specific, sophisticated English that's required to navigate these moments with complete precision and control.
I love that. And that's why we're calling this the C2 Saturday Circuit. It's a concept that really helps frame this whole journey.
It does. Think about moving beyond just those basic survival phrases, and into a realm of linguistic mastery where you, the speaker, are actually dictating the terms.
You're in charge.
You are in charge. You're controlling the nuances of the interaction. I mean, anyone with enough pointing and gesturing can say, where is the train? But a C2 speaker, well, they need to be able to handle unexpected misunderstandings, negotiate complex routes, use highly precise descriptive language for, their physical symptoms or their preferences.
Yeah, and handle institutional policies without any hesitation. No error.
So our mission is to show you the specific vocabulary, the frameworks that translate that basic necessity into advanced control.
And what's really fascinating here, and what our sources consistently stress, is this distinction between mere transactional competence and truly advanced proficiency. So a B2 speaker can successfully buy a coffee, no problem.
Gets the job done.
Gets the job done. But a C2 speaker can manage a complex substitution. They can dispute a price discrepancy and offer precise feedback on the product's flavor profile.
All while keeping a good vibe.
All while maintaining excellent rapport. It's not just about successfully acquiring the item or, the ticket. It's about controlling the variables of the situation. It's about anticipating potential pitfalls and articulating nuance in any scenario. It doesn't matter if you're in a super fast-paced coffee shop or, having a critical consultation at a pharmacy.
And that precise vocabulary, that structural framework, is what we're here to provide for you, the learner, so you can feel truly empowered.
Exactly.
That concept of control is so key. So we start the Saturday Circuit with movement because nothing throws a wrench in your day like bad logistics.
Oh, absolutely.
We're transitioning from simple directional requests to actively interpreting and negotiating complex urban movements. So let's jump right in. Section 1, navigating the urban transportation and spatial precision.
So when you make that leap from a B-level speaker to a C2 speaker in the world of transportation, you fundamentally shift your role.
How so?
You're no longer just a passive recipient of the service. You're not just waiting for the driver or some announcement to tell you what to do. You become an active manager of the journey.
I see. So you're co-piloting in a way.
You are. And this proficiency, it allows you to optimize the route based on sort of shared knowledge of the city's flow.
Right. And our source material gives us a perfect, really high-level example of this kind of advanced transportation logistics. So instead of just saying, go this way, not that way, which can sound a bit...
demanding.
Yeah, demanding or brusque. The C2 approach is assertive, but it's also inherently polite and collaborative.
Okay, let's hear it.
The negotiation phrase that we analyze is this. I'd appreciate it if we could bypass the city center. The traffic is usually congested this time of day.
Okay, let's spend a moment analyzing that specific phrasing because it is doing some very heavy linguistic lifting. First, the use of, I'd appreciate it if we could. That softens the directive significantly. It turns what could be a command into a polite suggestion.
No, it's not you must.
No, it's we could. It's built on a shared situational awareness. You're demonstrating two things. First, you know the general environment. You know about the congestion.
Yeah, I'm just guessing.
You're not just guessing. And second, you're interested in a solution that benefits both parties. You'll get there faster. The driver finishes the ride faster. It elevates the whole interaction from just a service request to a mutual collaboration.
That's a great point, because if you had just said, don't go through the center, you risk sounding, overly demanding.
And you can set a negative tone for the whole ride. This way, you're a team.
I think the key takeaway there for you, the listener, is that C2 language often bundles politeness, justification, and instruction all into one, fluid sentence. And the logistics go beyond just the rote, right? It also covers the end game, payment.
Ah, yes. Yeah. The final hurdle.
It's moving beyond just asking cash or card to a more specific inquiry, one that sort of anticipates technology and prevents that awkward moment at the destination.
Absolutely. The necessary phrase here, and it's a good one to remember, is contactless payment acceptable, or is this a cash-only ride?
So efficient.
It's extremely efficient. It covers all the bases in one concise sentence.
Yeah.
It shows you're aware of different modern technologies. You're using the term contactless payment, which is specific.
Right.
But you're also prudently allowing for the possibility of a legacy cash-only system, which is still pretty common in a lot of places. And that efficiency in communication, that is a mark of C2. It prevents that awkward back and forth. It saves valuable time for both the driver and for you.
Okay, so let's pivot a little. We've gone from ground transit, where negotiation is key, to public transit, the subway, the metro, the commuter rail.
Right.
Where the challenge is less about negotiating and more about, rapid comprehension.
Definitely.
When you're standing on a crowded platform, maybe you're running late, you need to understand those critical announcements immediately.
This is a high-stakes auditory test. The source highlights a key phrase you hear constantly in any major urban hub. We are experiencing a minor delay due to signal failure.
And you hear it over a crackling loudspeaker, probably.
Always. For a C2 speaker, this has to be internalized and assessed instantly. You need to grasp that minor delay is deliberately ambiguous.
It can mean anything.
It suggests a probable wait, maybe 5 to 15 minutes. But it's not catastrophic. But crucially, signal failure is the technical root cause.
And understanding that matters. Why?
Because it tells you the problem is infrastructural. It's maybe electrical. It's likely outside of the immediate control of the station or the train operator. So this helps you manage your own frustration.
Right. No point getting mad at the platform attendant.
Exactly. And you can immediately start considering alternatives, like checking a secondary bus line. You're already problem solving.
So what if that announcement isn't clear? Or if you're trying to confirm your own complex route because you have to get to a very specific place, you need to solicit confirmation from other people fluently. You can't just, gesture at a map and ask, downtown train, yes.
You need the full, polite, precise phrasing.
Which is?
The phrasing of choice here is, excuse me, could you confirm if this line services the downtown financial district?
Services, that's the word.
That's the operational verb. Services. It's the precise terminology used when you're talking about whether a public transport line reaches a specific destination or area.
And you also specified the financial district, not just downtown.
Precisely. It shows the level of detail the speaker is comfortable communicating. It minimizes the chance of error for the person you're asking. They can immediately tell you if the line goes to the right part of downtown.
So, okay. We've successfully navigated the transit system, but now we hit the sidewalk and, maybe something goes wrong. This is a classic Saturday scenario.
Yeah.
You're on the street and you are utterly disoriented.
Been there.
We all have. You're maybe looking for a specific boutique or a meeting spot. This brings us to section 1B, soliciting directions and spatial descriptors. This is where C2 proficiency really, really shines.
It does, because it involves moving beyond left, right, and straight into geometrical and relational precision.
You said it. Precision in spatial languages, it's non-negotiable at this advanced level. If you're disoriented, you just can't waste time with vague descriptions.
No time at all. Let's break down the complex interaction that the source provides. This disoriented person seeking a specific landmark from a knowledgeable local.
The first step is what you call the polite intrusion. You are interrupting someone's day, so you need highly deferential language.
You can't just bark a question at them.
Exactly. The opening line is, "Excuse me, I hate to intrude, but I seem to have lost my bearings."
That's good. Let's talk about that phrase, "I hate to intrude." It immediately establishes the correct social contract. You're acknowledging the imposition on their time. But the crucial linguistic nugget here is "lost my bearings." This is such a sophisticated and idiomatic replacement for the basic "I'm lost."
Why is it so much better?
Well, bearings refers metaphorically to your sense of direction or relative position. So saying you've lost your bearings suggests you understand how to be oriented, but you've just momentarily misplace that awareness.
Ah, so it sounds more like momentary confusion, not total incompetence.
Exactly. It sounds far more intelligent and composed than just saying, I don't know where I am.
Okay, so then comes the response from the local, which in this example is just jam-packed with C2 vocabulary. The local starts by efficiently correcting the person's current trajectory.
Yes, they say. You're actually engaging in a bit of a detour.
A detour. Simple, effective.
A concise and accurate term. But listen to the direction given next. This is where the precision truly elevates the entire interaction.
Lay it on us.
You want to head perpendicular to this street, proceed 2 blocks north until you hit the intersection, and it's situated directly adjacent to the bistro.
Wow. Perpendicular. Adjacent. These are terms most of us left behind in geometry class.
Right. But here, they are incredibly functional tools.
We have to address the critique here, though. Why is perpendicular so much better than just saying turn right at the next street? Does it sound a bit pretentious?
It can. I see your point. But it's all about minimizing ambiguity, which is the heart of C2 control. If I tell you to turn right, what if the road curves immediately? Or what if there are 2 smaller streets very close together?
Okay, I see. A right turn isn't always a clean 90-degree angle.
Exactly. Perpendicular means at a precise 90-degree angle to your current path of travel.
Yeah.
It removes all that ambiguity. You're not just turning, you're reorienting your direction based on a concrete geometric principle. It's just tighter.
And adjacent also provides that extra layer of clarity.
Absolutely. Adjacent means immediately next to or sharing a boundary with. It's much more specific than near or close to.
So if a shop is adjacent to the bistro, they are literally side by side.
They're touching. If it was just near the bistro, it could be across the street, it could be down an alleyway. Precision dictates a clearer, faster route to the destination.
And for you, the listener, the key is not just understanding these directions, but being able to internalize them and, repeat them back to confirm you got it.
Closing the communication loop.
Exactly. Something like, understood. So reorient myself 2 blocks north. This shows you're actively engaged with the complex directions.
And it confirms to the local that their detailed instruction was actually absorbed. And finally, there's the helpful descriptor used to ensure the location is ultimately found.
Right, the final piece of the puzzle.
It's quite conspicuous. You can't miss it.
Okay, let's stop on conspicuous. We have to analyze why we would use that term instead of something simpler like obvious or easy to see.
Because conspicuous is a richer, more powerful adjective. It means standing out so as to be clearly visible, but it often implies a striking or noticeable appearance.
Due to what? Its size or color?
Exactly. Size, color, design, maybe it's novelty. If something is just easy to see, it might just be well lit. If it is conspicuous, it demands your attention.
Can you give an example?
Sure. A small storefront with a bright purple awning is conspicuous. A giant gray bank building on the corner is just obvious.
I see. So using conspicuous gives the listener a more memorable visual hook to look for.
Exactly. And this entire vocabulary set, perpendicular, adjacent, conspicuous, lost my bearings. It all works together to ensure clarity, minimize error, and fundamentally elevate your fluency and confidence.
That deep precision you get from geometric vocabulary, it really does provide undeniable control. Okay, so we've gained mastery over the physical flow of the city. Now we're going to take that same expectation of precision and apply it to the flow of commerce, of transactions. Let's transition into the next major step in the Saturday circuit.
The economic part of the day.
Section 2. Mastering the transaction retail, customization, and policy.
This section focuses on handling those consumer interactions, detailing your specific needs, managing any discomfort with items, and querying store policy fluently. In a, let's say, a high-end retail setting, the interaction moves beyond a basic purchase.
It's not just, I'll take it.
No, it becomes a consultation on needs, on feasibility, on style. And that requires a great deal of conversational nuance.
Okay, let's start with 2A, nuanced retail shopping. The first crucial interaction is often just declining assistance without being rude or abrupt. So the sales associate asks, may I assist you with anything particular? A simple, blunt no is definitely not C2.
Not at all. The polite, full C2 response is, I'm currently just browsing, thank you. It's subtle, but it's so effective.
Why currently? What's that word doing?
The inclusion of that temporal adverb, currently, implies that you might need help later. It signals that your status is temporary. It keeps the door open for assistance if you need it.
And the thank you obviously softens the whole thing.
It softens the refusal entirely. You respect the associate's job, while firmly establishing your desire for some space.
Okay, but what if you do need something? The definition of your requirements then has to be surgically precise. You need to link the function and the aesthetic seamlessly. The source gives a perfect example for a winter coat, which requires a very specific set of attributes.
And that example is, I'm in the market for a winter coat, preferably something with thermal insulation, but a tailored silhouette.
That is a textbook demonstration of high-level specificity.
It is. The speaker isn't just saying they want a warm, nice-looking coat. They're specifying two distinct and, importantly, potentially conflicting requirements.
Right. Warm and fitted can be opposites.
They can be. So you have thermal insulation, that's the function, protection from cold, and a tailored silhouette, that's the form, a fitted, sculpted look, not bulky.
And you can just see the efficiency gain here.
Oh, absolutely. Without this precision, the associate might waste 10 minutes pulling 4 different incorrect bulky coats. By using this C2 precision, you immediately tell the associate exactly which inventory category to pull from.
You optimize the search dramatically. It respects everyone's time. I remember once just saying, I need a warm coat that looks good, and the assistant brought me 3 enormous technical parkas.
The Michelin Man look.
Exactly. My lack of specificity just wasted both of our time. So, okay, let's say they bring a coat, but the fit is wrong. We also need precise language for that discomfort.
Right. Moving beyond the binary of too small or too big.
So what do we say?
You need to isolate the feeling. If the jacket is tight, you can analyze the specific point of tension. This feels a bit restrictive around the shoulders.
Restrictive. That's a great word.
It's a highly precise adjective. It specifies the feeling of being limited in movement or confined, and it identifies the area of complaint, the shoulders, and the nature of the discomfort. It's so much clearer than it's tight.
And then asking for adjustment options fluently, showing that you understand tailoring and design possibilities. You're not just asking for the next size up.
No, you're asking for a different type of fit. The phrase is, do you have a size up, or perhaps a cut that offers a bit more give?
A bit more give. That feels like an incredibly important idiomatic nugget for our listener.
It is. Give, in this context, is sort of textile-related jargon. It means flexibility or stretch, or inherent looseness in the material of the design.
Ah, so it shows you understand that the problem might not be the size itself.
Exactly. It could be the lack of flexibility in the fabric or the cut. You're defining the problem, a lack of flexibility, and suggesting the solution, a cut, with more inherent give-all in one concise phrase.
That is the difference between a successful transaction and a frustrating inability to convey what you actually need.
It really is.
Okay, so beyond the product itself, at the register, discussions often turn to policy and finance. This requires specific, almost legalistic terminology.
Yes, often about risk mitigation. You need to know, for instance, the window for returns.
So you'd ask.
What is the window for returns or exchanges? Using window instead of time limit is very common. It shows you're familiar with business jargon.
But there's a deeper level of C2 control here, right?
Yes, querying the specific mechanism of the refund. Critically, knowing whether you'll get cash back, a refund to your card, or store credit.
So you'd ask, is this store credit only for returns?
Precisely. This prevents any assumptions about how you'll be refunded. It ensures absolute clarity on the financial policy before you finalize the purchase. You control the risk by asking the right question.
Okay, we've covered the consultative retail environment. Now let's subject ourselves to the high-velocity service test.
Ah, the trial by fire.
Which brings us to Section 2B, the coffee shop. I still love this concept of barista velocity, this sheer speed at which these interactions happen.
It requires total linguistic conviction in your order.
It really is arguably the highest pressure linguistic test of the whole Saturday circuit.
I agree. You have limited time, you have deafening background noise from grinders and steam wands, and there's an expectation that you will deliver a complex, customized order perfectly.
On the first try.
On the first try. Any hesitation, any vague language will result in the wrong drink or just a frustrating slowdown for everyone. It demands total fluency and control.
So let's break down the complex custom order provided in the source. This order has multiple modifications and requires some advanced descriptive vocabulary.
Let's hear it.
Could I please have a large latte with oat milk? I'd like to request half the usual amount of syrup as I find the standard recipe a bit cloying.
Wow, that sentence is a masterclass in C2 action. You have the size, the dairy substitute, the quantitative modification half syrup, and crucially, the justification.
Using that perfect, precise flavor descriptor. Cloying.
Yes, and we absolutely need to define cloying here because this is such a vital word for flavor description.
Please do.
So cloying doesn't just mean sweet. It means excessively sweet or rich to the point of being sickening or distasteful. It sticks to your palate.
Ah, okay.
So in a service setting, using cloying is far superior to too sweet. Too sweet is vague. Maybe you just don't like sugar.
Right.
Cloying tells the barista that the sweetness is overpowering and potentially unbalanced. It's an evaluation of the quality of the flavor.
And that precision is instantly recognized by the barista, which leads to their nuanced C2 level response. It shows they're operating at a similar level of understanding.
And the response is, would you like a darker roast for the espresso to balance the sweetness?
This is that critical feedback loop.
It is. The barista recognizes the structural problem, the cloying sweetness, and proposes a culinary solution, using a darker, more robust, maybe more bitter roast to counteract or balance it.
It's a high-level exchange about subtle flavor adjustments, and it's completely dependent on the customer having used the precise term cloying to begin with.
If the customer had just said too sweet, the barista might have just used less syrup without ever considering the espresso profile.
The interaction then moves smoothly on to logistics and checkout terminology. You confirm your order, maybe add a last-minute item.
Right?
The customer adds, and could you throw in that scone?
Throw in that scone. That is pure idiomatic fluency. It's a fast, colloquial way to tack on a last-minute item without any fuss.
And the exchange ends with some important specialized jargon that you have to process instantly. The barista says, that brings your total to $14. We'll call your name at the handoff plane.
The handoff plane.
This is one of those pieces of insider terminology that can really trip up even advanced learners if they haven't encountered it specifically.
Yes. The handoff plane is crucial specialized vocabulary. It sounds like something from an air traffic control manual.
It really does.
But in a coffee shop, it is simply the designated counter or area where you pick up your order. Knowing this term prevents confusion. You immediately know where to wait for your customized, less cloying latte.
It demonstrates a familiarity with the system, which adds to the smoothness of the entire transaction flow. You just have to understand these operational terms.
You do.
Okay. We've navigated the city, we've gotten fed and caffeinated, and we have maintained total control over our transactions. Now we move to the most critical area, the one where clarity isn't just preferred, but absolutely paramount.
Safety and supply.
This is section 3, communication for safety and supply, pharmacy and supermarket.
In situations that concern health, medication, essential supplies, precise terminology isn't just about sounding fluent. It is intrinsically a matter of safety and clarity.
Right.
And while our focus here remains strictly linguistic, the necessity of accurate vocabulary when describing health conditions is absolute.
Okay, let's look at 3A. The pharmacy consultation. The contrast between basic and advanced description of ailments is, well, it's stark. And the stakes are so much higher here. Instead of saying, my head hurts, which is incredibly vague, and gives the pharmacist very little information.
The C2 speaker details the experience with medical specificity. We shift to language like, I'm experiencing a persistent throbbing migraine.
Persistent, throbbing.
Exactly. Or for cold symptoms, I have significant nasal congestion and a scratchy throat. Look at the adjectives. Persistent, throbbing. They describe the quality of the pain. Significant indicates the severity. Scratchy describes the texture of the irritation.
You're giving the pharmacist medically relevant information about the quality, the intensity, and the location of the symptoms.
Which allows for much more accurate, safe, and effective recommendations than just some generic complaint.
And the pharmacist's language is equally precise. They often inquire about existing conditions or medications, and they'll use terms like concurrent medications.
Concurrent is a key word there. It means existing or occurring at the same time. Knowing this word ensures you understand you have to disclose all your current medications.
Not just the recent ones.
No, including supplements or herbal remedies.
Yeah.
Misunderstanding this term could lead to a really dangerous drug interaction.
And the safety questions you as the customer have to ask are essential for your own risk mitigation, such as, does this medication induce drowsiness? I need to operate a vehicle later. This links the medication's potential side effect directly to a necessary daily activity.
That brings us to the highest level of terminology. This is where safety is paramount. And this is where I think C2 vocabulary can sometimes sound a little like we're overreaching.
I know what you mean.
The C2 speaker, wanting absolute control over their health choices, will ask about complex medical safety using terms like Are there any known side effects or contraindications?
That's a fair challenge. Do we risk sounding pretentious by using a term like contraindications?
Maybe a little.
Perhaps. But in this context, precision outweighs humility, because the outcome is health and safety. Let me defend the functional superiority of this term.
Go for it.
A contraindication is a condition or a factor that serves as a specific, known reason to withhold a certain medical treatment. It's because of the high risk of harm it would cause the patient.
So an example would be taking a specific drug if you already have high blood pressure, for example. Asking for contraindications is superior because it covers these specific, known, high-risk conflicts. It goes beyond just general side effects.
Ah, I see. So it's not just this might make you sleepy, it's this could be actively dangerous for you.
Precisely. It demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of pharmacology and risk management, which makes the pharmacist take your concerns more seriously. You are engaging as an informed patient.
That distinction side effects versus a specific high-risk conflict, that really makes the case. You're asking about the absolute safety boundary, not just general discomfort.
Exactly. And for non-prescription drugs, we need to be facile with the standard classification terms. We use over-the-counter for these.
When the example query in our source combines this classification with this specific requirement.
Which is there an over-the-counter remedy for seasonal allergies that is non-drowsy?
C2 efficiency in action again.
It is. It combines the formal classification over-the-counter with the specific functional requirement, non-drowsy, which is critical if you have a full Saturday circuit ahead of you that involves driving or focused work.
It makes the request so efficient and professional, the pharmacist can instantly narrow the options.
Right.
Okay, we've handled the critical safety stop. Finally, we wrap up the Saturday circuit with the last stop of the day, the supermarket. This brings us to Section 3B, Supermarket Logistics and Point of Sale.
And even this seemingly simple task requires C2 fluency for full control.
It absolutely does. When you're seeking specific inventory in a huge, confusing store, you have to move beyond the vague, where is X?
And you need a geographically precise or logistical query that minimizes the effort required by the employee. For instance, could you direct me to the aisle containing ethnic spices?
So specific, they can probably just give you a number, aisle 7.
Exactly. Or, if you can't find a product, you query the supply chain status. This requires some specialized vocabulary.
Like,
I'm looking for a specific brand of detergent. Is it currently out of stock or just displaced?
out of stock versus displaced, what's the difference?
This shows you understand internal store logistics. Out of stock is a supply chain problem. They don't have it anywhere in the building.
Got it.
Displaced means it might have been shelved in the wrong location, or dropped during restocking, or moved by another customer. It's a temporary problem that a staff member can probably fix quickly.
That specificity helps the employee help you so much faster and with greater accuracy. Then, at the checkout, the point of sale, we encounter the small talk, the rapport building elements. This is where fluency shines in just maintaining a pleasant exchange.
And the employee asks that classic question, did you manage to find everything satisfactorily?
And the fluency to response is often a mix of confirmation and specific non-critical feedback.
Right. Yes, everything but the fresh basil. I noticed you were depleted on that item.
You're not complaining.
Not at all. You're providing inventory intelligence, which is actually helpful to the store. And it maintains good rapport. It's a subtle flex of your situational awareness.
Then comes managing loyalty programs and payment, which often involves a quick, strategic decision. When they ask, would you like to redeem any loyalty points today? The fluent denial isn't just a clipped no.
No. The C2 response shows strategy and your rationale. Not today, I'll let them accumulate. I'll be paying via debit.
I'll let them accumulate.
That phrase justifies the refusal, it avoids a curt reply, and it signals that you understand the rules of the loyalty program. The whole interaction becomes smoother, more conversational.
And finally, handling bags. This is often linked to sustainability, and it can sometimes lead to some slightly humorous formality.
Indeed. You have a choice between the highly formal or the simply fluent. The very formal option, which might get you a chuckle, is I've brought my own reusable receptacles.
Receptacles.
Receptacles is an extremely formal word for containers or vessels. And while it's slightly over the top for the context, knowing and being able to use it showcases your linguistic range.
But if we're worried about sounding a bit too technical, especially with the busy cashier, what's the fluent balance?
The simpler, equally fluent C2 alternative is probably superior in this setting. I have my own bags, thank you.
Easy.
The point, as we've seen throughout this whole deep dive, is the natural flow. Achieving C2 isn't just about having the technical terms. It's about the natural fillers, the rapport, and the ability to choose the appropriate register.
Knowing when to use receptacle versus knowing when to just stick to bag.
Exactly.
That summarizes the whole journey so beautifully. The ability to smoothly transition between topics, maintain conversational momentum, use appropriate filler phrases, modulate your tone.
From polite assertion in the taxi
to specific detail in the pharmacy. That is what makes the interaction natural and, more importantly, controlled.
Absolutely. It's that constant rapport, the seamless flow, and the consistent use of precise, nuanced language that defines advanced fluency, regardless of whether you are giving directions using geometrical terms or describing why your coffee is a bit too sweet.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We've successfully tracked the C2 speaker through every challenge of the Saturday circuit.
We have.
From negotiating ground transit and interpreting rapid public transit announcements, through the intricacies of retail customization and high-velocity coffee shop ordering.
All the way to essential safety communication in the pharmacy and handling supermarket logistics.
So the overarching theme, the value proposition we really want to reiterate for you, the learner, is this. The goal of mastering this advanced vocabulary is not merely to survive these conversations.
Right. It's not about just getting by.
It's not about hoping you get what you need and then exiting without incident. It is to control the conversation through specificity, precision, and advanced vocabulary.
So you can ensure your needs and your meaning are perfectly understood every single time. And that saves you time, it mitigates risk, and it reduces frustration.
That control is power. It really is. It's the ultimate shortcut to feeling completely at home in any English-speaking environment. So now, we want you to reflect on your own experience. Which of these fast-paced or complex scenarios, the cafe ordering, the transit negotiation, or maybe that safety-critical medical vocabulary at the pharmacy, which one do you find most daunting to handle with this level of specificity?
Yeah.
Because recognizing where your fluency is tested, that's the first step towards C2 mastery.
That reflection is so key to application. And as we leave you today, I want to leave you with a final thought that builds on the nature of this advanced communication.
Okay.
If we agree that precise language dictates control, consider how the rise of automated service, sophisticated AI communication, digital interfaces, how all of that might change the demands of C2 proficiency in the near future.
An interesting question.
Will fluency shift its emphasis away from building rapport and using those conversational fillers to requiring even more concise, technical, and accurate inputs tailored specifically for machine comprehension?
Wow.
It's just something for you to mull over or explore on your own as the language landscape evolves and the C2 circuit continues to change shape.
A fascinating, future-looking question to end on. Stay curious, keep honing that precision, and we look forward to the next time we take a deep dive into your knowledge sources.
Until next time.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you were with us for our recent sessions, you'll know we were focused on making life run smoothly. We were looking at the seamless logistics of ordering food, navigating transit, all that stuff that gets you from point A to point B without a hitch.
Exactly. We were really operating in that B1, maybe B2 communicative sphere. You know, the necessary interactions that need competence, but rarely require any kind of confrontation.
Just smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing. Exactly.
But true proficiency, that C2 mastery level that, everyone is striving for, it's rarely tested when a transaction goes perfectly.
Right.
It's tested when the friction hits. It's tested when the restaurant messes up your delivery or when the train is delayed and you have to call your client. Or, and this is maybe the most painful one, when you realize that expensive item you just bought is fundamentally flawed.
And that's why today, the mission shifts entirely. We're diving deep into the specific linguistic strategies you need to achieve what our sources, which focus on advanced language acquisition, they consistently call a satisfactory resolution.
A satisfactory resolution. I like that phrasing.
It's about high-stakes environments. So managing conflict, resolving disputes, and executing really complex social dynamics with grace and assertiveness. And crucially, with zero emotional leakage.
Yeah, and for this, we've drawn insight from advanced studies in pragmatics and sociolinguistics. We're looking squarely at how the strategic use of formal vocabulary, precise register control, and these subtle shifts in tone allow you to assert control over a difficult situation.
It's language as a tool. not just for exchanging information, but as a calibrated tool for, I'd say, psychological and strategic advantage.
So we've structured this deep dive around three very distinct high-friction scenarios. We're hoping to provide a blueprint for you to navigate them successfully.
First, we'll cover the commercial dispute, asserting your rights when store policy is pushing back.
Then the delicate social dance. That's about mastering the necessary but, potentially awkward graceful exit.
And finally, communicating competence. So using precision language when you're dealing with complicated technical support issues.
These are really the moments that distinguish the proficient speaker. We're moving from just managing transactions to, I guess, advanced negotiation and nuance management.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's unpack this and start with this scenario that probably involves the most heat and immediate psychological tension for most people.
Let's start with the formal fight. This is the scenario that so often leaves people feeling either powerless or just plain angry. So imagine the setup.
Okay.
You've purchased a high-value item. Let's stick with the example of a premium winter coat. Or maybe a costly piece of electronics. You get it home, you open it, and you discover a substantial defect.
Right, like a tear in a seam, a vital component that's just not working, or a really significant manufacturing flaw.
And this isn't just buyer's remorse, where you've changed your mind. This is a product failure that requires you to resolve a dispute, not just make a simple return.
And this is where that C2 shift has to happen immediately. If you walk up to the service desk with the B2 default, which is emotion, simplicity, and a vague complaint, you are setting yourself up to fail.
So what does that sound like, the B2 approach?
The B2 speaker says something like, I want to return this, it's broken, or maybe, I'm very angry, this is totally unacceptable.
And the immediate, just natural response from anyone in retail is to defend, right? The staff member hears angry customer, and they just default to the script.
Exactly. Policy, resistance, and trying to minimize the problem.
So the B2 approach is all about the customer's feeling about the product, which is subjective.
Right, and the C2 objective, as defined in our sources, is to get that satisfactory resolution, and to do it without all the unnecessary emotional labor. You do that by centering the objective fact of the product's failure.
So you're strategically shifting the interaction.
Yes, from a personal offense to a contractual failure.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we transform that opening line? We need to move beyond just declaring there's a problem.
You need to establish a formal context, establish your own due diligence, and command a higher register right from the first few words.
And you do that with a structured, formal opening. Instead of just launching into a complaint, you establish the context of the purchase and then the discovery of the fault.
And the key really is embedding a phrase that signals you've been methodical.
Which brings us to that excellent phrase we flagged from our sources, upon closer inspection.
Precisely. You approach the agent and you state, I purchased this garment earlier today, but upon closer inspection, I discovered a defect in the manufacturing.
Let's just spend a moment on that phrase, upon closer inspection. It is incredibly potent. And it's not just because it sounds formal, is it?
Not at all. It uses a specific prepositional structure that subtly implies a methodical process. It completely preempts that immediate and often really irritating question that customer service agents are trained to ask.
Did you check the item before you left the store?
Exactly. It's a prophylactic phrase. You have just shut down their first line of defense immediately.
By saying you performed the due diligence, you remove any ambiguity about when or how the defect occurred. It frames the issue as something inherent to the product from the moment of purchase.
And it puts the responsibility squarely back on the retailer.
It just signals competence, doesn't it? It's the difference between sounding like a casual shopper who just, happened to notice a problem and sounding like a meticulous consumer who understands their rights and has thoroughly documented the failure.
And that subtle shift in perception, it commands immediate respect. It changes the entire tone of their response.
Okay, so you've set the context. But even with this really competent opening, the resistance is coming.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if the store sees an opening to cite some kind of policy. For example, the agent might say, I understand. Unfortunately, since this was a clearance item, our policy dictates that all sales are final.
That's the friction point.
It is.
And this is where the assertive communicator has to move from describing the symptom, the tier, to describing the product's legal status. We need to deploy objective, powerful vocabulary that reframes the conversation.
This is the moment to, as our sources say, weaponize your vocabulary.
I love that.
We're seeking a precision that just bypasses any emotional reactivity. Our sources highlighted some really specific technical descriptors that elevate the complaint. So instead of saying the item is broken or falling apart,
You use terms like compromised stitching, or for a device, maybe a failure in the internal mechanism.
exactly. Those are engineering terms, not emotional terms. Compromised stitching identifies a specific failure point in their quality control process.
It makes the complaint objective and verifiable.
Right. But we still need a higher level descriptor for the overall status of the item. And that brings us to a really powerful, broad descriptor: fundamentally defective.
That word, fundamentally, I find it so strategic. If something is just defective, well, that could sound like a minor glitch. But if it's fundamentally defective,
You're arguing that the core quality guarantee that underpins the entire sale has been violated.
it's the core of the thing.
That's the core difference. It speaks to the implied warranty of fitness. And that leads directly to the third, and I would say most powerful phrase, one that often draws directly from consumer law in many places.
Unfit for purpose.
That's the word.
That phrase, unfit for purpose, it's absolutely key. It moves the discussion entirely out of the realm of, customer service opinion and straight into a legal register.
When you deploy unfit for purpose, you are explicitly stating that the product does not meet the basic standard of functionality for which it was purchased. It implies a violation of consumer rights, not just a store return policy.
And you're signaling that you're familiar with the legal framework governing their business.
And the beauty of it is the tone. You are not yelling this. You're stating a legal fact, calmly. I understand the policy regarding change of mind returns. However, this is a matter of quality control. The item is fundamentally defective, which renders it unfit for purpose.
That distinction is the logical argument that just nullifies their internal policy.
By drawing that clear line between a change of mind return and a quality control issue, you're showing an advanced understanding of the dispute categories. You acknowledge their policy's validity for one scenario.
While proving its complete irrelevance for yours.
Exactly.
Now, what if the agent, or maybe a supervisor they've called over, what if they continue to dig in and cite internal store rules? That stubborn resistance.
This moves us to the policy override strategy. This is the ultimate assertive move for the C2 communicator.
Okay.
When they keep citing store policy as their final word, you have to introduce the concept of a higher authority, and you have to do it using language that confirms that hierarchy.
And the word we extracted from the source material for this is supersede.
A fantastic word. You might state, firmly but politely, I believe consumer protection laws usually supersede store policy in cases of damaged or defective goods. I am simply seeking a remedy under my statutory rights as a consumer.
Let's just unpack the weight of supersede. It means to take the place of something that was previously in authority. When you use that word, you are establishing a clear legal hierarchy.
You're telling them, with no emotion, that their little internal booklet is subordinate to the law of the land.
It creates a cognitive shift for the person on the other side of the counter. They realize this is no longer a simple retail interaction they can just deflect.
You've raised the stakes without raising your voice. You've substituted personal frustration with legal precision.
And that substitution is the entire point of this section, isn't it? The goal is a satisfactory resolution, and the most efficient path to it is asserting control through objective, precise, formal language. It's so much more effective than any display of anger.
The moment you use words like supersede or unfit for purpose, the entire expectation of the interaction changes.
Absolutely. The likely outcome at this point is that the floor manager realizes they're dealing with an informed customer, and they have to, at the very least, escalate the matter.
Which brings us to the diplomatic conclusion. So, you won the linguistic battle. The store is moving toward a resolution. How do we close this loop with grace while still maintaining that firm expectation?
You use formal, business-centric terms. You ask them to escalate the matter, not just talk to your boss.
Yes, and crucially, you confirm your patience while also confirming your expectations. Something like, I would appreciate that. I'm happy to wait for the appropriate managerial review.
I'm happy to wait is brilliant. It signals you're not frantic or unstable. You're composed, you're patient, and it reinforces that you believe your position is legally sound and therefore well worth waiting for.
So to sum this up, assertiveness in these disputes is achieved through linguistic objectivity. It requires that shift from B2 emotional language to C2 formal logical vocabulary.
It allows you to stand firm on your rights, relying on fact and law, rather than needing to rely on sheer volume or, displays of frustration.
It's a complete transformation of the interaction dynamic.
That is a phenomenal blueprint for navigating consumer disputes. It really turns a potentially painful interaction into a structured process.
Okay, let's pivot.
Okay, let's pivot entirely now. We're moving away from formal confrontation and into high-stakes social negotiation. This is section 2. The delicate dance mastering, the graceful social exit.
The classic socially tricky scenario. This is the unexpected run-in, and it's a universal moment of anxiety, I think.
Oh, for sure.
You're maybe running late for a critical meeting, or you're exactly 6 minutes away from catching your last train home, and then, out of nowhere, you bump into an old acquaintance.
A former colleague, maybe, or a university classmate, someone you genuinely like, but you just do not have time for right at this moment.
And the core challenge here is fascinating. It's not about asserting your rights. It's about balancing two conflicting needs.
The need for genuine human enthusiasm because you are happy to see them,
Right.
with the absolute non-negotiable practical necessity of ending the interaction immediately and gracefully.
Because the penalty for mishandling this is steep, isn't it? If you seem uninterested or too rushed, you leave this lingering sense of rudeness, a social rupture.
Yeah. The C2 skill is preserving the relationship and the social warmth while rigorously respecting your own time constraints.
So we need to analyze the typical conversational structure of this run-in, because it has to follow a predictable, concise flow to avoid getting stuck in the small talk phase.
It always starts with the shock and the greeting, right? That immediate recognition. Is that you? I haven't seen you in ages.
Then the mutual confirmation. Acknowledging the time that's passed and the nice coincidence. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
It really has been quite some time, hasn't it? You confirm that bond right away.
Following that, there's the required, very concise update, what we might call the headline exchange.
Yes, this has to be done quickly. You give a high-level, generalized update on your life, the headline, not the full article.
Right. So instead of detailing your new job, you might say something like, oh, keeping busy, navigating the corporate landscape, you know how the career track goes.
Or trying to keep up with the kids. Life's a blur.
Exactly. And that brevity is essential because it satisfies the social requirement to exchange information, but it doesn't commit you to a 15-minute discussion of all the details.
You offer a summary and use idiomatic language, you know how it is, life's a blur, to signal that shared experience and, therefore, connection.
But the true C2 skill, the moment that elevates this from just a rushed exit to a graceful one, is the transition. This is the pivot point.
It's where you signal the departure without suggesting that the person you just bumped into is the reason for your urgency.
Right. We have to move beyond the abrupt B2 phrase, like, sorry, I gotta run, which just feels chaotic and self-centered.
The graceful exit requires a strategic professional explanation that externalizes the constraint.
And the phrase highlighted in our sources for this is perfect. Look, I genuinely love to catch up properly, but I'm actually running on a rather tight schedule today.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of running on a rather tight schedule. Firstly, notice the difference between I'm in a rush and I'm on a tight schedule.
In a rush suggests I've mismanaged my time.
Exactly. It sounds internal. On a tight schedule implies the day was structured this way by external, unavoidable commitments. It just shifts the perception of competence.
You're turning the obstacle into an external factor, which is so much more respectful. You're not saying you are interfering with my plan.
You're saying my external commitments are making this brief.
Right. And what about the use of the softening adverb? Rather, why say a rather tight schedule?
Well, a tight schedule is just factual and cold. There rather injects that small element of human regret, that emotional buffer.
It says, I really wish this schedule wasn't so restrictive, and I regret that this chance encounter has to be so short.
It's a linguistic injection of warmth that keeps the focus on the relationship. The explanation has to be respectful, and rather, does that work? And immediately after that respectful explanation comes what our sources call the golden phrase.
This is the highest expression of social grace in this scenario.
It is.
The phrase that shifts the focus immediately from your inconvenience to their well-being, I don't want to keep you.
This works perfectly because it's basically social engineering through courtesy.
Yeah.
Even if they had nowhere else to be, when you say, I don't want to keep you, you strategically frame the departure as a consideration of their valuable time.
That is truly advanced social dynamics. You control the dynamic entirely, you initiate the exit, but you appear to be performing an act of consideration for the other person.
And they can't possibly feel offended because you're prioritizing their schedule, even if their schedule is wide open.
It just immediately diffuses any potential awkwardness or feeling of rejection.
And once that departure is initiated, the next C2 step is managing the relationship for the future, which introduces the concept of polite fiction.
Okay, explain that term, polite fiction, in this context. It sounds a little bit like a necessary level of social dishonesty.
Well, a polite fiction is a ritualized social promise. It ensures the encounter ends on a positive note, and it maintains the symbolic connection, but it carries a low expectation of actually being rigorously fulfilled.
So it's a social lubricant.
Exactly. It ensures the door remains open, whether or not your calendars actually align to the future. We all do it, and we all understand its purpose.
So we need to create a tangible but low-stakes action item for the future. What does the quintessential polite fiction sound like?
The perfect phrase combines an idiomatic expression of regret with a concrete yet easily deferrable action item. Something like, let's not leave it another 3 years, though. I'll shoot you a message next week, and we can grab a coffee when things settle down.
Well, shoot you a message next week. That's the tangible part. It provides a future point of contact and immediate closure. It tells them this isn't goodbye forever, it's just goodbye for now.
It manages expectations beautifully. If the coffee happens, great. If it doesn't, the relationship has still been preserved, and the interaction ended on a high note of social warmth, which is the definition of C2 grace.
And crucially, we need those closing idiomatic expressions to seal the positive tone right up until the moment you physically part ways.
Yes, the phrases that reinforce the sincerity of the encounter. That sounds lovely. Don't be a stranger. And the simple, warm, take care.
These phrases ensure that positive social register is maintained, completing the delicate dance successfully.
It's clear the mastery here isn't just about vocabulary. It's about executing a 3-step linguistic process.
Right. Set the context, tight schedule, shift the focus, don't keep you, and promise future contact. Polite fiction, that's the entire blueprint.
Exactly.
All right, let's shift gears completely for our final high-stakes scenario. This one is non-confrontational, but it demands the absolute highest level of linguistic precision and objectivity.
This is the technical support call, whether it's for a sophisticated software glitch, a failing piece of hardware, or a complicated appliance problem.
And this scenario is a test of your descriptive competence, isn't it?
It absolutely is. The quality of service you get is directly proportional to the precision of the language you provide. A tech support agent is generally working through a predefined script, a diagnostic tree.
And if you start with vague emotional language, you just force them to waste time validating the basic premises.
And that pushes you further down the queue for any kind of specialized help.
So vague language like, it's acting weird, or it randomly shuts down, or it's just broken, that's completely useless here.
Useless. We need data points, objective observations, and specific technical descriptors. The goal is to sound like a collaborator in the diagnostic process, not like a helpless consumer.
Okay, give us some high-level examples of transforming a vague complaint into a C2 technical description.
Okay, so instead of saying my screen is flickering, which is vague about the timing, you specify the nature of the malfunction with adverbs. My screen is flickering intermittently.
Intermittently.
That is a critical piece of diagnostic information. It signals a potential driver or a loose connection issue rather than a persistent panel failure.
Or describing a power failure instead of it just turns off.
You might say the power ceases abruptly without warning.
Oh.
Or if there's a sound associated with it, you have to describe it precisely. The system is failing to boot up, and I am hearing a distinctive mechanical grinding sound from the hard drive bay.
I appreciate that distinction using sensory detail. You're distinguishing between a software failure, which is failing to boot up, and a definite hardware issue, the grinding sound.
And that specificity allows the agent to skip entire sections of their script and move directly to the probable cause.
It's the ultimate time saver for both of you. The agent realizes immediately that you are providing high-quality data.
But the most important C2 skill in this whole arena is signaling your own troubleshooting competence.
Because the agents are mandated to ask those basic, often frustrating first-tier questions, right?
Have you rebooted? Is the device plugged in? Is the software up to date?
And answering those one by one, especially if you've already done them, is just tedious, and it implies a low level of competence.
So the proficient speaker has to front-load their effort. Put it into one high-value statement that proves you have done the homework.
And the high-value statement that saves 10 minutes of pointless back and forth is, yes, I've exhausted all basic troubleshooting steps.
That phrase is a linguistic key. It unlocks the next tier of support. Let's analyze the grammar of it. I have exhausted uses the perfect aspect, which implies a completed, thorough action with a current result.
It sounds so much more conclusive and definitive than the casual, yeah, I tried turning it off.
It does. Exhausted all basic troubleshooting steps. It signals two things. You've done the work, and crucially, you understand the process of diagnostics, that there is a hierarchy of steps, and you've already completed the foundation.
The impact is instant. The agent realizes they can bypass the entry-level script.
And you've earned the right to suggest your own suspected diagnosis without sounding like an amateur. You can follow up with, given that I have exhausted all basic troubleshooting steps, and the issue is presenting as a mechanical grinding, I suspect it's a hardware failure on the storage component, rather than a software or network glitch.
You've essentially collaborated with the agent to do the Tier 1 diagnosis yourself, and now you're requesting Tier 2 assistance based on evidence and a methodical process.
That shift in status is what C2 language achieves. It's the difference between being led through a flowchart and being treated as a capable peer who just needs access to the specialized tools or knowledge the agent has.
It's really fascinating that whether we're talking about a formal dispute, a social run-in, or a technical problem, the underlying factor for success is always the same thing.
It is.
It's matching the linguistic register perfectly to the context.
That is the essential synthesis of this entire deep dive. Register matching is the pinnacle of proficiency.
In the commercial dispute, we needed that formal, objective, almost legalistic register, using strong nouns and verbs like defective, supersede, and unfit for purpose.
For the social run-in, we needed a warm, transitional register, using those courtesy phrases that manage time constraints externally, like running on a rather tight schedule, and the whole concept of polite fiction.
And then for the technical support call, the demand was for a descriptive and precise register, using specific adverbs and sensory nouns to convey competence, like flickering intermittently, and that powerful concluding statement of having exhausted all basic troubleshooting steps.
So mastery isn't just about having a large vocabulary. It's about having the wisdom to strategically deploy the correct subset of that vocabulary and the correct grammatical structure for the specific communicative task at hand.
This is how you navigate life's friction points effectively and with complete control. These strategies allow you to substitute emotional frustration with methodical, objective communication, ensuring you always push toward a satisfactory resolution. Right. That was an incredibly dense and I think really useful breakdown of advanced communication strategies. Let's just quickly summarize those 3 advanced tactics we've extracted for you to apply immediately.
First, in consumer and commercial disputes, remember to abandon emotional complaints. Replace them with formal, objective language drawn from that legal or contractual register.
Assert your rights based on fact that the product is fundamentally defective and unfit for purpose.
And when resistance comes up, confidently use words like supersede to reference the higher legal authority.
Second, master the delicate art of the graceful exit in those unexpected social run-ins. Signal your need to leave using externalizing language like running on a rather tight schedule, and then deploy that golden phrase of consideration, I don't want to keep you.
And always ensure you seal the interaction with the warm promise of a future connection through polite fiction.
And finally, when you're dealing with complex technical issues, specificity is power. Abandon vague terms like weird and use precise technical descriptions.
Use specific verbs and adverbs that describe the malfunction, and signal your competence immediately by declaring that you have exhausted all basic troubleshooting steps, instantly elevating your status in the diagnostic process.
The highest level of proficiency, as we've seen, it isn't about avoiding friction. It's about having the strategic language to navigate it successfully.
It's about using language as a precisely calibrated tool to make sure you achieve your goals, whether that's getting a refund, maintaining a friendship, or getting advanced tech support.
All while retaining your composure and grace.
We hope these insights help you recognize and utilize the power of linguistic control when life throws those inevitable curveballs at you. The ultimate goal is to substitute chaos and confusion with structure and precision.
And that strategic substitution of the subjective with the objective leads us to our final thought for you to mull over.
If mastering friction and disputes relies entirely on replacing your personal frustration and anger with detached, legalistic, or technical precision, so essentially moving from a subjective, emotional experience to an objective external fact, what is the hidden emotional cost? Or perhaps the ultimate psychological benefit of making that trade?
That's a great question.
Does that objective language truly reduce your stress by giving you a sense of control? Or does it maybe distance you from the natural human reaction to failure or conflict, allowing you to operate with a greater coldness? Think about that balance, that power of detachment, as you apply these C2 skills in your life.
Until next time, keep refining your nuance and asserting your rights gracefully.
Goodbye for now. Okay, let's unpack this. So you've mastered English. I mean, you're fluent.
Right.
You navigate the globe. You manage those international calls. You handle all of life's daily frictions in English without, tripping over a syntax or vocabulary.
You're completely proficient. But tonight we're talking about the skills that move you past just fluency and into true finesse.
Yeah, we're targeting that linguistic ceiling, that C2 level.
Exactly. We're moving beyond the daily logistics, the conflict resolution stuff we've touched on before. This deep dive is all about the subtleties of a very high-stakes environment.
Social dining and professional networking.
Mm-hmm. This is where communication starts being just about function. It starts being about demonstrating competence, culture, and really social intelligence.
I like to think of it as the difference between wearing clothes that fit and wearing a custom-tailored suit.
That's a great analogy.
And our sources today, they really zero in on what they call social polish.
Social polish.
It's all those subtle vocabulary choices and conversational pivots that bridge the gap between I can communicate this idea and I sound Nader-like, experienced, and professionally credible.
And the scene we're setting here is critical. This isn't just a casual lunch with a friend.
Yeah.
This is dinner with a major client or maybe a prospective employer or an influential senior associate. Every single word choice, every gesture surrounding the meal, it's a data point.
A data point that the other person is using to assess your overall professionalism.
For sure. So what we're doing here is providing you with the linguistic toolkit to demonstrate that polished, high-level competence.
And that first test, that first moment of polish, it often happens right when you sit down.
Before any business card is even exchanged.
It's how you engage the restaurant staff with respect and sophistication. So this first section is all about shifting that dynamic, isn't it?
Completely. It's moving from a simple customer-to-server transaction
I want this.
to a conversation between an informed guest and a recognized expert. You're initiating a dialogue about the cuisine, not just, issuing an order.
And the primary focus here, which our sources really highlight, is that moment you order wine.
Ah, the sommelier.
Exactly, the wine expert. A basic order is fine. It's acceptable.
But a strategic interaction sets a totally different tone for the rest of the evening. The rudimentary approach is just a simple declaration, right?
We'll have a glass of the Cabernet.
Exactly. But the elevated, the C2 level approach is to solicit expert input. You frame your request as a consultation, not a demand.
And the phrase structure the sources give us is just. It's remarkably efficient.
Mm-hmm.
It covers everything you need in one single breath. We're debating between the Pinot Noir and the Merlot. Which would you suggest to pair with the venison?
Okay, let's dissect the impact of that.
Yeah.
First, you're using that precise domain-specific verb, pair with. That immediately signals that you get the fundamental principle of fine dining. You understand that the wine is there to complement and enhance the meal.
You're talking about synergy, not just drinking.
Precisely. And by mentioning a specific dish, the venison or whatever, you're showing you're not intimidated by sophisticated food. You get that there are intricacies involved.
The huge signal boost.
And second, that opening, we're debating between.
Yeah, that's a key part.
It's a crucial psychological move. You haven't just said, tell me what to drink.
Yeah.
You've shown that you've done the initial work. You've narrowed the field to 2 viable options. And now you're inviting the sommelier into your process as a collaborator.
An informed collaborator. That shows so much respect for their expertise, which is what these specialists are often looking for, right?
Absolutely. They're curators of the experience, not just bottle openers. By showing some baseline knowledge and then deferring to them, you elevate the sommelier.
And in doing that, you elevate the entire dining experience for your guest.
And think about the follow-up. If they recommend the Pinot Noir, later you have something to talk about.
Oh, good point.
You can say, they were absolutely right. The Pinot Noir really helped balance the gaminess. It gives you conversational currency for the whole meal.
That focus on informed interest, it goes beyond just the wine list, too.
It goes right to the plate.
Another subtle way to show this social Polish is by asking about the food preparation itself.
If you're talking to the server about, say, a fish dish, asking, is the salmon pan-seared or poached?
Right.
That tells the server, and maybe more importantly, your client, that you understand there's a difference in technique.
It shows an awareness of technical detail. You know that pan-seared means a crisp exterior, a richer flavor.
And poached means delicacy, moistness.
And that knowledge stops you from making a basic error later, like complaining that the poached fish isn't crispy.
Or, conversely, you can specifically compliment the quality of the sear. It connects you to the culinary process. It shows you see the preparation as an art form deserving of attention.
And in a high-stakes professional dinner, that ability to notice small, complex details is unconsciously projected onto your ability to manage complex business details.
It's all connected.
Okay, so let's transition to something that can be tricky. A necessary, but often socially awkward challenge.
Dietary restrictions.
Yes. In a professional environment, the key is discretion. It's maturity.
You have to communicate the need effectively without making yourself the focus of the meal.
Or, being a huge inconvenience.
And this is a massive test of C2 level fluency. It requires precise, almost clinical vocabulary, but used in a socially sensitive way.
The language needs to sound responsible and measured. No drama.
Our sources draw a really sharp contrast here. The low-level disruptive way is just a flat statement.
I can't eat bread, take it away.
Right. It positions you as oppositional, demanding.
So what's the polished approach?
The high-level approach uses two key terms to manage it elegantly. I have a mild intolerance to gluten. Could you advise which of the appetizers would be safe for me to consume?
Okay, let's start with the word intolerance. Why is that word so much more effective than allergy or just I can't eat X?
Well, intolerance is a clinical, measured term. It signals a known internal reality that needs managing. It frames it as a mature health consideration, not just a preference. And crucially, in a dining context, it manages expectations. If you say allergy, especially in North America, the staff is trained to treat that as potentially life-threatening.
Anaphylaxis.
Exactly, which can throw the entire kitchen into chaos and make you the center of all this unwanted attention.
So this is about situational awareness. If it's a genuine severe allergy, you have to state that for safety.
Of course.
But if it's a milder reaction, a discomfort rather than a crisis, using intolerance is a strategic choice for social harmony.
Precisely. Social Polish dictates that unless it's a genuine, immediate danger, you should minimize the disruption. Mild intolerance conveys the need without all the high alert baggage.
It shows respect for the kitchen staff's already high workload. And then there's that crucial verb shift, advise. Why is that better than, can you tell me? Or which ones are gluten-free?
When you ask the server to advise you, you're deferring to their specialized knowledge.
Right. Of the menu, the ingredients, the prep.
You're not demanding a list of safe options. You are inviting their professional opinion.
So it transforms the restriction from a point of friction into a collaborative process.
Yes. Advise suggests, I respect your knowledge. Please help me navigate this. It's mature, discreet, and very respectful.
That really is the essence of C2 communication, isn't it? Handling a logistical challenge while simultaneously building rapport.
And notice the end of the phrase, too, would be safe for me to consume.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's not about what ingredients are missing. It's about the final product being suitable for you. It keeps the focus positive and solution-oriented.
So we've handled the menu, the wine, any dietary needs with total finesse. The conversation's flowing. But as the plates are cleared, the evening brings us to the next big challenge.
The moment of payment.
In a lot of professional contexts, this isn't a simple transaction, is it? It's what our sources call a cultural dance.
The battle for the bill.
Exactly. This back and forth of courtesy.
This is where linguistic firmness meets cultural politeness. The challenge is really twofold.
Okay.
How does the host firmly insist on paying without seeming aggressive?
And on the other side, how does the client offer resistance and then accept graciously without appearing, passive or mercenary?
Let's start with the host. The host has to anticipate the client reaching for their wallet and just shut that move down immediately.
Preemptively.
The communication has to be definitive. And the source gives us the gold standard for this. Please, put your wallet away. I insist on taking care of this. It's on the company.
Okay, let's break that down. Please, put your wallet away. is a physical command, but it's softened by please.
It signals immediacy. Then, I insist, signals strong, non-negotiable resolution.
But that last phrase seems the most powerful. It's on the company?
It's absolutely the most powerful. By saying it's on the company, the host completely depersonalizes the payment.
Right. It's not a personal favor anymore. It's not an argument about who's wealthier.
It's a necessary corporate logistical courtesy. And that reframing removes the client's easiest reason for refusal. They aren't refusing you, the person.
They're refusing a professional corporate gesture, which is a much higher barrier to cross.
Exactly. It confirms the dinner was a business expense to facilitate the relationship, not a personal gift that might create an awkward sense of debt.
Okay, but the client, especially a senior professional, they have to resist, right? It's part of the dance.
They have a social obligation to offer resistance, to show they're not just taking the generosity for granted.
So that brings us to the polite rejection, the counteroffer.
The client has to acknowledge the generosity while trying to introduce an alternative. The line is, "That's very generous, but I really can't accept. Let's at least split the difference or go Dutch."
That's very generous, is the required start. It's the acknowledgement.
Compulsive.
And then the counteroffers, like go Dutch. Now, a C2 listener knows go Dutch means splitting the bill, but what's the nuance here?
The nuance is that in this specific high-stakes business setting, the suggestion to go Dutch isn't a serious proposal.
Oh,
The expectation is that one party pays the whole thing. So it's a required linguistic and social gesture. It shows the client isn't just passively waiting for a treat. They value their own self-sufficiency.
so now the host has to escalate.
Yeah.
They have to provide that definitive, unyielding, but maximally polite refusal.
Yes, to the point where any more resistance from the client would just be awkward.
And for this, you need a C2 idiom that broadcasts absolute resolution.
And the source recommends I wouldn't hear of it.
I wouldn't hear of it. That feels powerful.
It's the tactical nuclear option in this little battle. It conveys strong, almost moral resolve, but with zero rudeness.
So what does it really mean?
It conceptually translates to, your offer is completely invalid and I refuse to even allow the notion of you paying to occupy my mind.
And the delivery is key, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. It has to be relaxed, confident, maintain eye contact, maybe a little friendly wave of the hand. It signals the discussion is over, but we're still friends.
It's not questioning their ability to pay, but the propriety of them paying in this situation.
Precisely. And once you've drawn that line, the host has to cement the gesture by professionalizing the payment again.
Linking the expense back to the value of the relationship.
You might say something like, "You've been a fantastic partner on this project. Allow me to treat you. Consider it a token of our appreciation."
Token of our appreciation. That's the finesse, isn't it? The money spent on the meal becomes symbolic.
It's not about the lobster and wine anymore. It's about signaling your commitment to the long-term relationship.
At which point refusal is basically impossible. You'd be refusing their appreciation.
You're cornered, but in the most generous way possible. So now the client must transition to the final graceful acceptance.
And how do they do that?
They yield, but they simultaneously assure reciprocity to preserve that long-term balance. The perfect closing line is, well, if you insist, I graciously accept, but the next one is on me.
I graciously accept. Shows they get the etiquette, but the next one is on me, immediately rebalances the scales.
Exactly. It ensures this generosity will be returned in the future, maintaining a healthy, mutually respectful relationship. The whole 5-step exchange, when it's done flawlessly, establishes both people as socially and professionally astute.
So the logistics are done. Now we're in the main event.
Yeah.
A couple of hours of continuous, engaging, substantive dialogue.
And the challenge is moving past that superficial small talk
Whether.
without veering into highly controversial or, polarized territory. The C2 skill here is asking these open-ended questions that let the other person share a personalized, engaging story.
And the most common conversational dead end in networking is that simple question. So how's your job?
Or, do you like your job? It just invites a one-word answer. It's fine. It's busy.
And then silence.
Stalls completely. So we want to pivot from the current status to the historical narrative.
And the source contrasts that low-level question with this highly sophisticated alternative. What was the trajectory that led you into this specific industry?
The word trajectory is doing all the heavy lifting there.
It really is. It implies complexity, movement, strategic thought, a whole history of choices.
It shows you're not interested in the day-to-day grind. You are interested in the story.
The curves, the pivots, the motivations that define their career.
And psychologically, that approach is extremely flattering. You're implicitly acknowledging their career wasn't just an accident. It was the result of complex, thoughtful decisions.
You're positioning them as the expert narrator of their own life. It immediately invites anecdotes, stories about mentors, unexpected challenges.
And it gives you dozens of natural follow-up points. If they mention leaving academia for industry, you can ask about the cultural differences.
Right. Or if a project failed, you can pivot to what they learned about risk management. The conversational utility is just immense.
It gets you to a deeper, more personal level without being intrusive at all. And successful professionals, they enjoy talking about their strategic choices. You're giving them a stage to shine.
Plus, using a word like trajectory demonstrates your own intellectual rigor. This is a very efficient way to signal your own competence.
Now, moving into current events is essential for a substantive conversation, but it's a minefield.
Absolutely.
The mastery here is the structural technique you use to introduce a complex topic while staying completely neutral.
And the key strategic move is referencing an external source.
Yes. You don't say, I think X is happening.
You say, I read an editorial that suggests X is happening. What do you think?
And here's where it gets really interesting. By referencing a source, an editorial, a recent study, you're placing the potential controversy outside of your personal relationship.
You're turning the discussion into an objective analysis of external commentary. You become a facilitator of ideas, not a combatant.
That distancing technique is absolutely vital in a professional setting. You're creating a safe zone for analysis. Look at the specific phrasing the source provides.
Right.
I was reading an editorial recently regarding the shift in remote work. What's your take on the long-term viability of that model?
Okay, let's break down the language that makes that so safe and substantive. First, the topic. The shift in remote work.
It's relevant to almost every executive today, but it's inherently non-political. It's about economics, logistics, company culture.
And then the advanced terminology.
Yeah.
Viability.
Yes. That word invites a strategic analysis of long-term success, not just an emotional assessment. You're not asking if they like working from home.
You're asking them to analyze the sustainability of the model, which appeals directly to their professional skill set.
And finally, that linguistic mechanism for seeking an opinion. What's your take on?
That feels so much softer and more inviting than, do you think?
It is. What do you think? Can sound a bit challenging, a bit direct.
Right.
But what's your take on implies the subject is complex and that you anticipate they have a sophisticated, developed perspective, a take that includes caveats, pros, and cons.
It assumes nuance.
It assumes nuance. And that structural technique is the blueprint for having a substantive, engaging debate while ensuring mutual professional respect stays completely intact.
So you're not arguing about the subject, you're arguing around the commentary on the subject.
That is the key distinction in high-level conversation. It shows you know how to discuss challenging ideas without making enemies.
Okay, so we have successfully navigated the dining and the substantive conversation. But the evening isn't over until you've managed the exit.
And there are two final challenges that require this social polish.
The first is admitting ignorance without sacrificing credibility.
And the second is declining further social activities without causing any awkwardness.
Let's start with admitting ignorance. This is a massive point of vulnerability for fluent speakers.
Right. Huge. When a topic is raised, maybe some niche technical development you just haven't encountered, a flat, can just deflate the conversation.
And it can inadvertently signal a general lack of education, even if that's not true. We need a way out that preserves our intellectual standing.
The language here has to subtly imply that while you are broadly educated, this specific topic is just outside your current field of study.
Not that you lack the capacity to understand it.
Exactly. It requires a bit of strategic self-deprecation coupled with an immediate compliment.
And the source gives us this highly polished admission. I'm afraid I'm not well-versed in that particular subject, but I'd be fascinated to hear your perspective.
Let's focus on not well-versed. This is crucial C2 phrasing.
It's a very sophisticated admission.
It doesn't mean I'm ignorant. It implies I haven't recently studied or internalized the details of this specific narrow field. It protects your persona as an intelligent professional whose knowledge is just focused elsewhere.
If you compare that to saying, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, that's so abrupt. It puts pressure on the other person to dumb down their explanation.
Whereas not well-versed maintains the intellectual altitude of the conversation.
And that second half of the phrase is the ultimate social pivot. By adding, I'd be fascinated to hear your perspective, You instantly transform your vulnerability into an opportunity for rapport.
You're giving your conversational partner a stage. You're complementing their assumed expertise and inviting them to teach you.
It's a deeply strategic admission of ignorance. It shows humility, curiosity, and respect, all while safely redirecting the conversational spotlight away from your knowledge gap.
You turn a moment of weakness into a social strength.
It's an invaluable technique in any intellectual environment. You maintain control, you avoid bluffing, and you foster a relationship based on mutual learning.
Okay, so last challenge of the night. The dinner is winding down. The necessary professional time is over, but maybe the social energy is high.
And a suggestion is made. Let's all head to the bar, or there's karaoke nearby.
And you need to decline. How do you do it without sounding tired or boring or unappreciative?
The goal is to decline the activity while affirming the value of the invitation. You have to soften the refusal and proactively manage the group dynamic so nobody feels guilty.
Okay, option 1. Declaring an early limit.
This relies on acknowledging the fun first, followed by a non-negotiable logistical reason for leaving. The structure has to be validation, then constraint.
So the phrasing starts with,
As tempting as that sounds, this is the mandatory validation. You're saying, that's a great idea and I wish I could participate.
it preemptively deflects any suggestion that their plan is bad or that you don't like their company.
And then you follow it with the logistical exit. I've got an early start tomorrow, so I'll have to call it a night.
The early start is the external professional constraint. It's not a personal preference. You're leaving because of a professional obligation.
And that distinction is crucial. You're not saying I'm bored. You're saying I am disciplined and my responsibilities require me to maintain focus. It validates their fun while protecting your professional standing.
Okay, so what's option 2? Giving permission to continue.
This is perhaps the peak of social Polish in this scenario, especially if there's a group involved. You acknowledge your own limit, but you grant the group absolution to carry on guilt-free.
So you say,
I think I've reached my limit for the evening, but please don't let me hold you back. Enjoy the rest of the night.
that phrase, don't let me hold you back. That's the linguistic oil that makes the exit smooth.
It immediately cancels any social obligation the group might feel toward you. They don't have to argue. They don't have to feel bad for having fun after you leave.
By using that phrasing, you're showing superior social intelligence. You're anticipating their potential guilt and proactively solving it for them.
Yes. You maintain your professionalism, you get your necessary rest, and you ensure the goodwill you built all evening remains intact right up to the very last wave goodbye.
So we have journeyed through an entire high-stakes professional evening, from ordering intricacies to the finesse of the exit. And the common thread in all these advanced communication tactics is that the polished choice is always the one that maximizes respect, minimizes confrontation, and prioritizes the long-term relationship.
What stands out to you about this journey is that need to move past simple transaction.
Right.
We've synthesized these polishings across 3 critical domains.
In the dining domain, we elevated the interaction by using expert terms like pair with, discussing preparation, and using the discrete language of intolerance to manage logistics.
It all signals experience and respect for the craft of the meal.
Then in conversation, we focused on deep, engaging narratives by asking about a professional trajectory instead of just superficial satisfaction.
And we learn how to bring up challenging topics like the viability of remote work by strategically citing external sources and asking that nuanced question, what's your take on?
And finally, in the subtle arts of refusal and evasion, we learned how to admit ignorance gracefully by saying you're not well-versed, turning a vulnerability into a compliment.
And we mastered declining those invitations by using, as tempting as that sounds, to soften the blow.
And crucially, offering that linguistic absolution, don't let me hold you back.
These subtle linguistic polishings, they're what really define communication at that C2 level. It's precision, strategic awareness of tone, and the ability to execute these social contracts flawlessly.
It's what allows your communication to be seen as truly native-like and highly strategic. So what does this all mean?
Well, it means you are now equipped for that immediate professional arena. The networking dinner, the client meeting. We've covered courtesies, logistics, and safe, substantive conversation starters.
But the true test of ultimate linguistic polish, that's yet to come, isn't it?
It is. This deep dive focused on practical social maneuvers. The final frontier of high-level communication is taking this social polish and applying it to far more intense subjects.
Truly abstract, contentious, purely intellectual concepts.
Can you maintain this level of finesse when you're debating philosophy or complex scientific models or abstract theories?
That suggests the next layer of the challenge, mastering true academic and intellectual English.
Where the goal isn't just to network politely, but to critically challenge and engage deeply with abstract ideas while still maintaining respect. That is the ultimate exploration for the truly proficient speaker.
Until then, navigate your next high-stakes social environment with confidence and polish. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Good luck, and we'll see you at the next one.